happen?
Well, the big picture is he doesn't have a lot of room to move. He has an awful lot of debt. He's trying to slowly get rid of that debt, but sadly, the output, the GDP of this country, is eventually sluggish at 0% trend growth. So he's in a very difficult position, and of course he's in a coalition with the Liberal Democrats. So traditional Tory policies are very difficult to implement.
Yeah, and it doesn't look as though he's going to change course at all over the plans to cut the debt.
Absolutely not. No. I mean, what he probably will do is he may well come out and say, look, the growth is slightly worse than expected, our debt position will be worse as well, which is what he did at the autumn statement on the 5th of December, just before Christmas. So do expect the news to be grim on output and death. However, politicians of all colours, when they want to, tend to obfuscate the amount of debt they are creating when it is a very difficult time. So expect a little bit of little creative accounting on the debt figures, I would suggest.
And what's the atmosphere in the city amongst your colleagues? What are they wanting? What are they expecting?
Well, I think everybody would like him to be more radical in terms of stimulating growth. But the trouble is, and that's why when they say, oh, let's go for growth. But the trouble is when he's in a coalition, it is difficult to do that. He is constrained by so many sides. He's constrained because he hasn't got money. He's constrained because he's in a coalition. He's constrained in terms of reform because we've got European Union law. He's constrained as what he can do because the banking sector's really weak. You know, I mean, my opinion, the banks need recapitalising in order to get growth going back in this economy. Well, that's not going to happen because it politically, putting any more money into the banks is an appalling idea. So in all these ways, he's constrained. So I almost feel it's a bit like, you know, Nero fiddling while Rome burns. And I think that's the image I have of George, just sort of sitting there going, I can't do much, and everything around him falling down.
Oh, it's a pitiful prospect. Louise Cooper, financial analyst with Cooper City, thank you so much for that analysis. Let's discuss now the political situation, and for that we have the benefit of our political editor, Tom Cheel. Good morning to you, Tom. Yeah, the Chancellor's in a difficult position economically and politically, isn't he?
He certainly is, and let's remember a year ago it was the budget which really fell apart in the days and weeks after he delivered it, and at that point Labour put in a clear poll lead and have held on to it ever since. So George Osborne has to make the right call as far as he's concerned for the economy. He also needs to try and do something, I think, to restore his political reputation as well. On one measure, at least, it's been more successful than last year. There have been far fewer leaks. We've had some details pre-announced, but those obviously were briefed to journalists. So the details about childcare reforms and capital spending as well. But given the constraints he's under, what I think the Chancellor will do later, as you've signalled, is try and say to people, particularly low and middle income earners, that yes, we do get the fact you're struggling with a rising cost of living. It's tough, but we are on your side and doing what we can to help. Because for all the talk of helping so-called strivers and hard-pressed families, those words that the Chancellor often does use at times like this, I think there is a recognition that the government has failed to convince the public that they're doing everything they can, that they really are putting in place the policies to support them. So that is something which I think, given his limited room for manoeuvre, the Chancellor will at least try to focus on. But overall, we may yet have more headlines about the debt rising even faster than predicted. Obviously, growth still proving elusive, and the bigger picture is that we are now a long way from where the Chancellor said we would be at this point when the coalition came into being. So fundamentally, pretty low expectations, and I think we should expect a steady as you go budget.
Tom Cheel, for now, our political editor. Of course, we're going to be hearing from you throughout the day on Budget Day here on LBC 97.3. But for now, thank you. Meanwhile, of course, what we want to know is what impact will the budget have on business here in London? Colin Stambridge is Chief Executive of the London Chambers of Commerce and Industry. Good morning to you. What do you expect?
Morning. Well, I'm not sure what I expect. I can tell you what I hope for. Obviously, we need to cut the deficit. We need to make sure that we're not in debt to the extent that we have been for the last few years. But also, we've got to get rid of the smell of stagnation. Some may even say the stench of stagnation that surrounds the economy. So I hope we're not just going to have just steady as it goes. I hope we are going to hear from the Chancellor that he is going to do things that will help give a feeling the economy can grow and will grow.
What do you want
for example,
to stimulate that?
Projects are a huge area where the return to the country over a number of years, makes up for any outlay. And of course, there are infrastructure projects which the government doesn't even have to pay for. So for short-term political reasons, I believe, they're against the third runway. Well, a third runway would provide jobs and also make a piece of Britain's infrastructure do extremely well, much better than it's doing now. So I think there are things that the Chancellor can do. I think on jobs, for example, I think a short-term stop to national insurance payments for smaller companies, for example, could make them want to employ more people. More people means more money into the economy, means more tax revenue for the Chancellor. So I just hope that there will be not just steady as you go, but some indication that there are bold moves that a Chancellor can take to make the economy get out of the stagnation it's in at the moment.
And briefly, do you support the £2.5 billion worth of further cuts at Whitehall?
Well, I think there have to be cuts. I mean, my experience of government is that there is room for cuts, but there's also room to get rid of taxes that don't work. For example, air passenger duty. PwC have recently reported that by abolishing air passenger duty, you get £500 million into the economy. You've got to look at those taxes which seem on the surface to work, but actually, when you look into the long term, actually don't work, and abolishing them can give a boost to the economy.
Colin Stanbridge, Chief Executive of the London Chambers of Commerce, thank you. Now, the largest civil service union in the UK has chosen Budget Day to begin a series of strikes over pay. They're asking for a 5% increase. LBC 97.3's Tom Swarbrick is outside a job centre for us in Marylebone. Good morning to you, Tom. How's it looking?
Morning, Susan. PCS union voted to strike with an 80% majority. Today, the disruption will affect government departments, border patrol offices, museums and job centres like this one in Marylebone will be closed. The row, as you said, about pay. Workers want 5%, about £1,200 pay rise, as well as better working conditions, saying that the government is punishing the public sector unfairly. The Cabinet Office fairly withering in their rebuttal. They've called the action futile, saying it benefits no one. But with George Osborne delivering the budget later today, there is a planned protest outside Parliament, and we wait to see just how effective this strike action is.
250,000 people, though. What kind of impact is this going to have, on the streets?
Well, I think a lot of people who come down to this job centre, this big job centre, looking for work will be turned away, or at least have to cross a picket line to get in, which does cause problems. As you say, at London's biggest airport, Heathrow, there's planned strikes with border patrol officers there, so that's going to affect passengers coming into and out of the UK. Of course, the more disruption there is, the better the PCS union, the better their chances are of getting what they want. But these things can be pretty variable, so we wait to see just how bad it gets.
Tom Swarbrick in Marylebone for us, thank you. Let's have a look at this morning's front pages. The Prime Minister's accused of attacking stay-at-home mums in today's budget after Downing Street suggested they'll be excluded from child support because they don't want to work. That's in the Telegraph. The Daily Mail also leads with that story and pictures of Coronation Street's Bill Roach, who's apologised for insulting abuse victims. The Times claims police intelligence files on suspected celebrity sex offenders were kept from the detectives investigating the cases. The photo is of singer Joss Stone, who gave evidence yesterday against the men alleged to have been plotting to kidnap and kill her. The Financial Times claims the Chancellor is poised for a bleak budget. The Eye says the EU is in crisis after the Cyprus Parliament voted against plans for a raid on savings. That's the Guardian's lead too. Teenage campaigner is pictured on her first day at school in the UK. She came here after being shot, of course, in the head by the Pakistani Taliban last year. The Daily Mirror is calling on George Osborne to help the rest of us financially today after helping Britain's millionaires last time round. The Sun leads with the budget, of course. It says the Chancellor will scrap the beer duty escalator, which will stop next month's planned 6p per pint rise. And a drug taken by millions of Britons to control cholesterol could increase the risk of kidney damage. That's according to The Express. Still to come here on the morning news, one sister's fight to remember those killed during the 7 7, terror attack at Tavistock Square. And in Nick Ferrari at breakfast from 7, Nick will continue to focus on today's strike and see how the budget could affect you. 6:45, let's get the headlines now with Dan Whitehead.
Chancellor George Osborne will deliver his budget later, with Whitehall departments braced for a further £2.5 billion worth of cuts. Meanwhile, up to 250,000 civil servants are starting a 24-hour strike in a rout over pay, pensions and working conditions. And the AA is warning more cars could fail MOTs from today as tougher new European vehicle checks come into force. London's weather cloudy this morning, a mix of sunny spells and showers by this afternoon, with highs of 6 degrees Celsius.
This weekend, sumptuous plums are 3 for £2. Luscious limes are 3 for £2. Raspberry bellinis 3 for £2. Intense truffles, proud peacocks and even noddypuddles are 3 for £2. It's the Dulux Let's Colour weekend, and selected Dulux paints are 3 for £2. The perfect time to buy some colour and make a fresh start. They're 3 for £2 as well. The offer runs until 31st of March at participating retailers. Terms and exclusions apply and vary between retailers as do sizes. Dulux, let's colour.
Let's cross now to the LBC 97.3 travel centre for you. And Ross Powell, the Limehouse link tunnel looks busy.
It certainly does, yes, Susan. It's very slow moving on the cameras coming into town. Remember, we've got these new width restrictions which came into force yesterday at the Rotherhithe Tunnel, so more traffic expected to use the Limehouse link. Also got the usual delays building up on the A13 coming into town from Daniel, which is very slow. Also, the M11 is slow southbound around Junction 5 for Loughton. And there are queues on the M25 clockwise for around a mile at Junction 5 for the M26. Now, if you're heading onto the tubes, there are some minor delays this morning on the District Line because of a signal failure at Earl's Court. Keeping London moving. Your next travel updates in 15 minutes.
The Morning News with Susan Bookbinder on LBC 97.3.
It's 6:47. Good morning to you. Assembly member Victoria Borwick will be calling on the Mayor later to look at better ways to monitor convicted child sex offenders. This comes after numbers show London's record being the worst in the UK. Well, Victoria Borwick joins me now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's pretty bad. It's 137 child sex offenders disappearing and the Met losing by far the most, 40.
Yes.
How does this happen?
I think you're absolutely right. That's one of the reasons we wanted to highlight this. The London Conservatives have been doing some research here, and we discovered in the Met area alone, that's in London, we've got 40 missing registered child sex offenders have gone missing over the last year. So how many other general offenders are there? I think what we're going to say is that obviously this is not just the Met, it's a whole lot of other agencies they work with, and maybe that's where the holes in the system are. We've got the Met, we've got the London Probation Service, we've got the Prison Service, Parole Board, several other agencies who are all supposed to work together. And, there are various recommendations here. We're saying we've really got to make sure that we've got to look at having a lead agency, we need to ensure better consistency. But it's, Londoners need to feel safe, and I think it's really important. So that's where we're raising this today.
Yeah, as you say, we need to feel safe, but how can we feel safe if it seems that this is a case that there's no joined-up thinking?
You're absolutely right. So we're going to not only raise this publicly at Mayor's Question Time today, but then follow that up with the Met, because they are the lead agency here, and say to them, can you please review how serious offenders are supervised after leaving prison by all the various different public protection agencies, because we believe there should always be one agency taking the lead on each case, and, primary responsibility for managing an offender. And, let's make sure that we actually sort this out, because I think, inevitably there will be times when people, do disappear off